thanks to you guys for joining us. For those of you that are out there and those of you who are going to listen to this as a recording, for those of you who joined, I keep saying for those of you, who joined one section or any section of the junior national team this summer, one of the benefits of being part of the junior national team is that you get an account with CaptainU, and at each of the levels, we're going to take video and do a lot of things with you throughout your time at camp and give you that material to put into your folders. And those folders are going to become your profiles in the CaptainU system. So that's stuff that you can get out and market yourself. That's stuff that you can get out and show people what you can do. And the purpose of tonight is the first of a couple. We have Eric and Michael here, and Eric is going to go through what CaptainU is going to offer you guys, what it is available, what's available to you, what resources are at your fingertips, and how it works, how to strategize, how to get out there, how to answer the questions that you want answered on how to navigate the complexities of recruiting. So Eric and Mike, I'm just going to hand it over to you guys, and I know you got a presentation, so I will ease off and we'll see you guys in an hour.
Oh, Eric, I'll take it just because I have a little bit, but everyone, I appreciate you coming on board today and taking the time to learn a little bit more about CaptainU. Chris, I appreciate you having us on. As you mentioned, we are partners with U.S. Rowing, which means we are going to be a big part of U.S. Rowing over the next few years. And with that being said, we're working in conjunction to help each other. We want to help rowers get better access to row at the next level. We know it's been a difficult time for some people here and there. Obviously, for the elite of the elite, they're going to be able to choose wherever they want to go. But for the lesser, for the people that are sort of fighting through the water to try to figure out what's the next best option for them, CaptainU is the next best option. I head up one of the college sales teams where we reach out to college coaches and have them utilize CaptainU tools where they reach out and try to find athletes to fill their college teams. Eric, who's about to go, is our customer success king. He is one, if you've probably got an email from our through our profiles, this is the guy that has probably sent you that email. He's been with us for quite a long time, and he knows all the ins and outs of how to have the best profile that you can to get the most eyes on it. With that being said, Eric, go ahead.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. And hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Really excited to see so many people in here. And, you know, just as a little bit of an introduction, like Mike said, I am the customer success manager here at CaptainU, which means it's my job to make sure that all of our athletes are getting as much exposure as possible. You know, I want to make sure that anybody using CaptainU, you know, knows how to get the most out of it and knows how to get exposure with the coaches at the schools that they are interested in. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to some slides here in just a second, and we'll just kind of dive on into the presentation. I do want to let you all know that I am more than happy to answer questions, whether it's about CaptainU or about recruiting here at the end as I get through all of my slides. So feel free to pop those in the chat. I've got some time scheduled at the end, but let me go ahead and just switch to my presentation here. And okay, there's that. Let me go to having a Zoom and the presentation open. It seems my computer is running a little bit slow, but this should be working. And it's loading. Okay, can we see my screen all right? Let me just, yes. I can only look at one window at a time, but okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so yeah, so CaptainU, powered by Stack Sports. Stack is our parent company. And today we're talking college recruiting with CaptainU and US Rowing. So let me actually turn my camera back on over here. There we go. All right, I think we've got the camera and the slides. That's what we're looking for. Back over to my other screen. Okay, perfect. So here's just an overview so that If certain parts of these subjects are more interesting to you, you know when to pay attention. But first, I'm going to talk about kind of overall recruiting strategy, the current recruiting environment, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about recruiting. There's a lot of sort of maybe stale information when it comes to what does recruiting actually look like? How can you as an athlete participate in the recruiting process? And what are those kind of overall key strategies? After that, we're going to talk specifically about what is CaptainU, and how can you apply that to using it to connect with coaches and getting as much exposure as possible. I'm then going to go kind of into the most important things involved in getting recruited as an athlete. What makes you a great recruit, thinking about yourself as an athlete and being able to express to coaches why they should be interested in you as a recruit, as a student athlete. We're going to move on to what colleges are a great fit for you, right? If being proactive and participating in recruiting is the best way to get recruited, well, it's a little difficult to be proactive if you're not sure who you want to speak with. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. We're going to move on to communication, actually connecting with the college programs that you're interested in. And then after that, we're going to do a tour of an actual CaptainU account. I have, an example account that I can walk y'all through so you can see, all right, we talked about some strategies. How does that actually look using CaptainU? And then, of course, like I mentioned, at the end, we'll have a little bit of time for questions, or a lot of time. As many questions as you got, I'm happy to stick around for. So with that, we'll go ahead and dive right on in. And where I like to begin when I have conversations like this is I like to talk about the perception of recruiting. I think a lot of folks have this idea of the old way of recruiting, where hey, if you just do well enough in your sport and you do well enough in school, somehow coaches will come knocking on your door. The old way is really primarily driven by coaches. Hey, maybe you do really well in a big event, you end up in the newspaper, and a local school comes and reaches out to you. This idea that recruiting is something that happens to you, and there's some real kind of drawbacks to looking at recruiting in that old way. You really don't have any control over the schools that you're actually speaking with. It's like, all right, here's the 2, 3, 4 schools that reached out to me. I guess I'm going to one of them. You really don't have a ton of control over the process. Hey, maybe it's a little bit easier. You don't have to think much about it. But that's not what we're about here at CaptainU. It's actually in our name, CaptainU. You are the captain. You get to be in control of who you're speaking with. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about what that actually looks like and how you can work on recruiting. And I think this kind of old view of recruiting, or this old way of recruiting, is really reinforced by like TV and movies and social media. You see a video, somebody putting on their cap, signing their national letter of intent, but you really don't see everything that goes into that, right? You don't generally get recruited in a single conversation with a coach, in a single video view, in a single interaction. You get recruited as you build rapport with coaches over time. And so it's really important to think of recruiting, really as a process, not just an instantaneous thing. It's a little bit cliche, but it really, really is a marathon, not a sprint. So that brings us to kind of the reality of modern recruiting. What does recruiting actually look like in 2021 and beyond? And this is not necessarily something new. I went through, not to date myself too much, but I went through recruiting in 2006 was my high school graduation year. And even then, I was being really aggressive. I know most of the other athletes I know that got recruited, we were being aggressive, reaching out to coaches and, creating exposure rather than waiting for it. And I think that is the mindset that you should be thinking about as you move into, the recruiting part of your rowing career. And so, rather than being primarily driven by coaches, these days it is really driven by athletes. You get to control what schools you're speaking with. You get to control the information that you're presenting to coaches, that you're maybe building onto your CaptainU profile, or maybe you're putting together sort of a resume that you can share with your stats and links to great finishings you've had at events and all that stuff. So it really, these days, recruiting is something that you participate in rather than something that happens to you. And, the benefit of that is it gives you so much more control to find a school that's a great fit for you holistically, academically, athletically, culturally, regionally. If there are things that you want out of a college, you get to go out there and make that happen. It's so important to, think about it this way, and that, okay, great. Yes, it might take a little bit more work. It's, something that you do need to put a little bit of time and effort into, but the reward is great. You get to find the school that is the perfect fit for you, where you can be a successful student athlete, not getting onto campus and going, oh gosh, this isn't, what I thought. I'm not sure I like it here. You really get to find the perfect fit. And that's the view of what modern recruiting is. That's the strategy that CaptainU really tries to foster with our athletes, is this idea that you can go out there and create exposure for yourself. So that's the overall recruiting environment. I hope that makes a little bit of sense and gives you an idea of the context within which we're working here. And so now let's go ahead and talk about, okay, what is CaptainU? Who are these people talking to me right now? At its core, CaptainU is just a set of college recruiting tools built to make the process a little bit easier and more efficient for you. If you want to be a competitive recruit, you got to be collecting all of your information, your stats, your awards, your academic info, all the things that show coaches who you are and why they should be interested in you. And then you have to start building out the list of schools that you're interested in. And you have to, start having conversations with coaches. And, I think for a lot of folks, that seems overwhelming. I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be. CaptainU, we have built this platform to make it super easy, super efficient, with just spending a little bit of time on recruiting, each week, each month, you will be amazed at the progress you can make. And that's what we're here to do. We are really a set of tools. I almost like to compare, a CaptainU account to something like a gym membership, right? Signing up for a gym doesn't get you in shape. It's what you do there that gets you results. And in much the same way, we're a platform here to help you out with that. So, you can collect and display all your athletic and academic information for coaches. That's going to be the profile, which we will, we'll talk a little bit more about each of these bullet points. But, it's a place to manage your college prospects list, the events that you're attending, the conversations you're having with coaches. It is a place for you to come and keep all of this organized in one place so that you can be, really, really effective, efficient, and that the time you're spending on recruiting is time really well spent. And then, of course, we're also a community here to help you navigate the college recruiting process. One of my primary jobs here at CaptainU, for all of our gold and platinum subscribers, I'm on the phone with them, giving them personal advice. Hey, how do we think about approaching your college's list? How do you send your first message to the top school on your list? How do you prepare for a camp or, an official visit or something like that? But beyond that, we've got weekly live sessions on our Facebook and our Instagram page where, I typically dive really deeply into one topic or another as it relates to recruiting. We've got a ton of great, blog posts and videos and other content to help you out so that if you ever say, hey, I want to work on recruiting, I'm not sure what to do, you can always find that answer here on CaptainU. And then lastly, I know that we've already called this out a little bit, but we are, the recruiting partner of US Rowing, and, frankly, hundreds of other organizations and events and colleges. We are the largest youth sports recruiting platform in the country. And if you want to get recruited, you can do it on CaptainU. So that's who we are. Now I want to talk a little bit about kind of the in my opinion, the 3 things that you should be thinking about if you want to get recruited. And these kind of do go sequentially. So, maybe you've already taken this first step, maybe you've already taken the second. I think it's important to kind of think about recruiting in these 3 portions. And the first is what makes you a great recruit. If you are just getting started with recruiting, I think it's worth sitting back, take a week and really try and think about what are the most important things about me that I want every coach to know about. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. And this is recruiting. You should really let your strengths shine through. Whether you're an excellent student or you're the hardest worker or you're super strong and you're in the best condition, or you perform really well under pressure at these big events, try and think about what is it about me that coaches are going to be interested in. And then you can actually build that onto your CaptainU profile. And again, like I mentioned, we're going to actually do a tour of a whole CaptainU account so you can see what this actually looks like. But when it comes to the actual strategy, I think it's very important to think about your skills first. A lot of times when I say, hey, why should a coach be interested in you as a recruit? I'll get the answer of like, well, I won this award. I have this time. I have this great video. Those are all evidence of the skills that you possess. So think about those skills first, the high level bullet point things. And then you're going to want to collect ways to demonstrate those skills to coaches. If you think about your profile, your resume, whatever it is that you're using in that way, skills first, and then everything else as evidence of those skills, you are going to be able to speak so much more confidently with coaches. Your messages to coaches are going to be better. The conversations you have on the phone or in person are going to be much better. And, it's nice to reflect on what makes you a great recruit. It makes you more confident. And confidence is very important in recruiting. It's just so important to be able to speak to what you are going to bring to the table for this coach's program. And I think another thing I like to call out here is that coaches are recruiting your potential, not who you are today. So don't be afraid to just throw up what you have. If you have a goal for a time that you're trying to set, an achievement that you're hoping to achieve over the course of the next 6 months, year, couple years, don't be afraid of talking about and building your profile with who you are today, because coaches love to see that progress over time. They love to see somebody who has goals, who is working on achieving those goals and moving themselves forward. And the fact is, like I mentioned, you're not going to get recruited in a single message, in a single interaction. It's going to take some time to really, build rapport with these coaches. And so if you wait until everything is perfect, you're going to have a much smaller window of actually connecting with coaches. So don't, hey, if your SAT score isn't quite where you want it, don't worry about it. Post what you got and update it over time. This again is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not an instantaneous thing. So that's the very first piece you want to be thinking about, is what makes you a great recruit. Distill it down into a couple key bullet points, and then find some ways to demonstrate that to coaches. If you as a recruit, or if you're a parent of a recruit, if you can take that first step, you're already ahead of a lot of other folks who, don't even put that much thought into recruiting. And so I think that's a very important sort of first step, first thing to be thinking about. All right, I'm just going to check real quick that everything is still looking and sounding good. Can someone pop in, maybe Mike or someone? Is everything still with me? I don't want to be talking if I have like an error.
Yeah, everything's looking good so far.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we talked about what makes you a great recruit. The next thing I want to talk about is what colleges are a great fit for you. Like I said, if being proactive is the best way to get recruited, it's pretty tough to be proactive if you have no idea who you want to speak with, what types of schools you're interested in. So this is where, on CaptainU, you're going to be using the colleges tab of your account. And it's really worth noting that it is as important to explore what schools or types of schools you're interested in as it is to show coaches what makes you a great recruit. I would say thinking about colleges and, really building a colleges list and maintaining that over time is a step that I kind of see a lot of folks skip over. I think sometimes, there's all different reasons. Sometimes I hear, oh, I have no idea where I want to go. I haven't really thought about it yet. Or, I'll go anywhere that wants me to compete for their team. And, I think, well, certainly it's great to be open to schools that might be interested in you. If you spend some time critically thinking about what is it that I want out of a college? Are there certain academic things I want to study? Do I, want to play for, or excuse me, do I want to row for one of the best colleges in the country? Or, do I want maybe a more casual program where I'm going to have more time for other extracurricular activities? Do I want to be in a certain part of the country? Are there, other considerations when it comes to making my college decision? It is so important to think about this. If you have no idea where to begin, I'm going to show you on CaptainU how you can run searches. And just like coaches can search for athletes, on CaptainU, you can search for colleges. And it's okay if you don't nail your list right away. I think it's really important just to start somewhere. And it's definitely okay to change that list over time. As you interact with coaches, as you, send messages back and forth, if you're lucky enough to visit some campuses, even as you're just doing research on CaptainU or, going to a school's website, you will get a sense of what's a good fit for you and what's not. And you can adjust that list over time. When it comes to kind of the overall strategy here, I should mention it's all about balance. On one hand, it's super important to build kind of a broad list in the beginning. You want to actively have different types of schools on your list, because as you, work through this process, again, things will start to stand out as a good fit, things will stand out that don't, and you can adjust. And if all your schools are very, very similar, if you've got like 4 schools that are in the same league, in the same conference, same size, same region, you're not going to see those differences as starkly. You're not going to have as good of reference points for comparison. So, something I like to tell my athletes is like, all right, build a list of your top 10 schools and then add 5 schools that are totally different. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to explore. And even if you decide, hey, you know what, that school's not for me, at least now you know for sure that those schools you thought you were interested in, you are. It's a story of when I was going through recruiting. I thought I wanted to go to, one of the biggest schools in the country. I went to kind of a small high school, and it was like, yeah, I want to go and just see different things and meet different people and have all these different experiences. And then I went and visited one of the biggest schools in the country, and I got there and it was like, people drive between classes? No way. That's like way too big for me. And then I went and visited a small school and went, oh, this feels just like my high school. I don't want to go here. And I ultimately found something kind of in the middle that was a great fit for me. And if I didn't explore those different options, I might have ended up at a school that wasn't a good fit. So it's a great idea to build some variation into your prospects list, but at the same time, do not go overboard. I think that's probably one of the top recruiting mistakes I see athletes make is they go, oh, I get it. Recruiting is a numbers game. I'm going to add every school in the country to my list. And at that point, you start to get overwhelmed. You start to send, kind of canned messages, sort of spammy messages to coaches rather than personal messages. You can't remember when the last time you reached out to a school, or did they get back to me? Or, if a coach says, hey, why are you interested in my program? If you can't answer that question, your colleges list might be a little bit too big. So, there's not a hard and fast number. I think for most athletes, it starts maybe around 10, 15, 20 schools, kind of that range. But it's definitely okay to go a little more narrow if you know exactly what you want. It's definitely okay to go a little bit more broad if you have no idea what you're interested in and you just want to check out a lot of different schools. But it's all about balance. keeping that in mind, knowing that your list is going to change over time, just start somewhere. Just start somewhere and then, kind of feel it out as you go on. So that's the strategy for this second step. What colleges are a great fit for you? And, if you are thinking about that, if you're putting some effort into that, again, you're going to be able to speak more confidently with coaches. You're going to have more productive conversations. And frankly, coaches want to speak with athletes who are interested in their program in particular. They don't want to speak to somebody who's just, blasting every coach in the country. They want to speak with athletes who want to be a part of their team. And so it's so important to spend some time thinking about this as you get started with recruiting. All right, so we talked about what makes you a great recruit, what colleges are a great fit for you, and then, really the last step, and ultimately what's going to be the most important thing that you do is we got to get in there and start sending some messages to coaches, to start some conversations, connecting with the programs that you're interested in. So as it works on CaptainU, this is typically going to be the mail tool. You can contact any program in the country. As long as you've added them to your prospects list, they're going to be available for you to message. The coach's contact info is already built in there for you. There's templates to help you write your messages if you're not sure what to say. And so it's very simple. It's very easy to get into these conversations. And that frees up your time to actually think about these messages, to actually write good messages that are going to engage coaches and get you more responses from the schools you're interested in. So, the way I like to put it is this: there's no better way to get your foot in the door with a school than to knock on it yourself. Being proactive is just the best way to build exposure, to build recruiting momentum. So a couple key strategies here. First off, I find that shorter messages more often is often the best strategy when it comes to messaging coaches. Just like you, me, and everybody else, some coaches are amazing. They get back to every athlete who reaches out. They respond quickly. Some coaches, not so much. And you might have a hard time getting a hold of some coaches. And so instead of trying to tell your whole life story and every little bit about you that you want a coach to know, go in with the idea that, hey, these first couple messages, the goal is not to get a scholarship in your first message, to get an offer for a school in your first message. It's just to get your foot in the door, to get this coach paying attention to who you are and, start watching your progress over time. And so I often find that shorter messages more often gives you more opportunities to connect. It makes it easier for coaches to digest your messages so that, they don't open it up and go, oh, that's going to take 20 minutes to read. You want these to be high impact, something that, I like to call it bite-sized messages. Now, that's not to say that you should send a 2-sentence message to a coach. I've seen it all the time. Hey, coach, I'm interested in your school. Can I have a scholarship? That's not enough. You do need to get a couple key points across. So what I like to call the perfect message is something that's concise but thorough, right? Concise means using as few words as possible or as necessary, and thorough means including as much detail as is necessary. And so there are a few key things that you do want to elaborate on, that that you should feel free to talk about in your messages. And what are those things? All right, well, to me, there's 3 things you want to include. 1, who are you and why should the coach care? I've said this a couple times, when we were talking about the profile, and maybe that sounds a little bit crass, but it's important to tell coaches what it is that you are bringing to their program. Like we talked about with the program, with the profile, it's so important to know what your strengths are and to be confident and straightforward about those strengths. Hey, coach, I'm interested in earning a spot on your team. I think I'd be a great fit because of A, B, C, and D. You are telling the coach what to look for. And if you tell somebody what to look for, and then you show them where to find it, you are making their job way easier. Don't leave it up to the coach's imagination. Don't leave it up to them, watching every bit of your film to figure out what makes you great. Tell them what to look for And then, yeah, include your profile or your video or your stats or whatever it is that you have as evidence. Tell them why they should be interested in you. Be confident, and you will get more looks from coaches. You will get more responses. You're making the coach's job really, really easy if you tell them what to look for. So that's the first piece. That's maybe the first paragraph of your recruiting messages. The second piece, why are you interested in their program? You know, we talked about this a little bit on the colleges tab, or when we were talking about, you know, just building your colleges list. But it's so important to be personal in your messages. You know, I periodically interview college coaches to say, hey, what's working, what's not working when it comes to athletes reaching out to you, right? I want to be good at my job. And actually last summer, I was speaking with a D1 coach who said, if I can't tell an athlete knows who they're speaking with, I just delete the message and move on to the next one. You know, certainly not every school maybe has that opinion, but the idea is that coaches want to hear from athletes who want to earn a spot on their team, who want to go to their university, who, you know, are invested and have put some time into thinking about their school. So make sure to include a couple sentences in your message on why you're interested in their program, team, college in particular. You know, maybe you have a friend or a family member or a coach who went there. Maybe there's a major you're interested in studying. Maybe you've, you know, watched them compete and you love, you know, their key strategies or the way they coach. Make these personal. You will get a far better response rate. I've seen it. You know, I've worked with literally thousands of athletes over the last 8 years, and I can tell you it is far better to send 2-3 good messages a week than to send 30 bad messages. You know, it is just, you're going to get so much more exposure the more personal you can be when it comes to having conversations with coaches. And then the last thing, and this can be short, you don't need to bend over backwards for this, but always have a call to action in your message. It's so important that the coach feels like they owe you a response, that it's easy for this coach to respond. I can't tell you how many messages I've seen over the years that go, hey, coach, my name's Eric. I'm interested in earning a spot on your team. I think I'd be a good fit because of A, B, and C. I'm interested in your school because of X, Y, and Z. Thanks a lot, coach. And it's like, oh, okay, what do we do with that? You know, you want this coach to feel like they owe you a response. So ask a question. You know, I think that's a really good way to have a call to action. Oh, hey, are you recruiting for my grad year? You know, do you have any camps or clinics coming up? Or, you know, are you going to be attending this big event that I'm going to? You know, when's the best time of year to visit the campus? What, you know, time should I be shooting for? You know, ask a question. It's just a really good way that this coach goes, okay, you know, here's my response. And then all of a sudden you're in a conversation with the school that you're writing to. You know, it's always easier to continue a conversation than it is to start a new one. So really put some time and effort and some thought into your messages. You know, this will get easier over time. You know, practice makes perfect, just like anything else. But don't feel like you have to rush. Never feel like, oh gosh, I need to reach out to 20 schools this week. You know, just take it one step at a time, one school at a time, and have genuine conversations with coaches. That's how you get recruited. That's how you make an impression. And that's how you stand out from the crowd of everybody else who, you know, is vying for these same spots at programs as you. All right. And my last note on the messaging here, don't be afraid to follow up. You know, a lack of response is just not the same as a lack of interest. You know, I myself, I was like days away from committing to a school that was, you know, pretty low on my list in terms of my priorities, because I thought, you know, the school I really want to go to isn't responding to me. I guess they must not be interested. And, you know, as kind of a last ditch effort, I sent out a final round of emails. I picked up the phone and I called the coach and he said, oh goodness, you know, I'm so sorry. I, you know, have a bunch of messages. I haven't been able to get back to everybody. And, you know, hey, I ended up getting to, you know, go on and, you know, go to a D1 school. I was a wrestler myself, so different school, different sport. But it just goes to show that, you know, don't be afraid to follow up. You know, come with a little bit of new information each time. don't, send the exact same thing over and over again. Don't be blowing a coach up 5 times a day. But if you haven't heard back from a coach for a week or a couple weeks, there is nothing wrong with saying, hey, coach, I'm really interested in your program. I wanted to make sure you got my last message. Here's what I've been working on since I last wrote to you. I went to this event. I did this in the gym. I did this in school. Come with a little bit of new information, be genuine, be engaging, be personal. And that's, again, how you stand out from the crowd. Okay, so with that, I am going to switch over to the CaptainU profile. And actually, before I actually do the tour of the profile.
A few questions.
Okay.
Didn't know, and I can just sort of ask you, and at least for the first few ones, looks pretty simple for you to answer.
Okay, great.
Eric, do you have information on your website about college rowing programs, and how can you help me pick the right rowing program?
Absolutely. So that is a part of the, let me switch my camera over here so that it's full screen. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that is one thing that we will walk through when we do the tour of the profile, is where you can access the colleges tab of CaptainU and how you can start searching for programs. Each school, first off, we've got every program in the country built into our platform. And so, you can kind of go in there and say, hey, I'm looking for a D1 school from the Southeast, or, I'm looking for a D3 program that is a small school. You can kind of punch in what you're looking for and we'll show you results. And then, each school has a lot of their key information built into CaptainU. You click the info tab and you can see, all sorts of information. So that's a really good place to start. And I would also encourage you to just go out there and do some research. Google the schools you might be interested in. Go look at their academic website, at their athletic team's websites. Like I said, this is a process. And, if you're putting in the effort, it's going to show in your conversations with coaches.
And then there's a few people that are asking this. When's the ideal time to begin this process? Is 9th, 10th grade too early? Is it too early if the student is a novice rower, maybe like 6 months into the sport? When should we start contacting coaches?
Sure. So great question. Whenever an athlete asks me, when's the best time to start working on recruiting? My answer is right now. Again, because, if you wait until everything's perfect and everything is, exactly as you want, you might only have a really small window to actually have conversations with coaches. And, even if you're not ready to actually send messages to coaches, you can start working on those other steps. Start collecting your video and your stats and your academic information. Start building your list of schools. And, hey, if you don't know what schools you're interested in, talk to your coaches, talk to your teachers, your friends, your family members. Get online and, get on CaptainU and do a little bit of research. It's never too early to start thinking about college. Now, in general, I like to tell folks, anything you do before about, maybe like the summer after your sophomore year generally puts you ahead of the curve. I would say, across sports, that's when most folks really start thinking about recruiting. And, once you get into junior year, a lot of times I'll get on the phone with a junior athlete and they'll go, oh my gosh, I already feel like I'm behind. And, I don't know that I would necessarily agree with that. If you're a junior watching this, that does not mean that you are, way behind and you're not going to get recruited. If you are consistent and make incremental progress and just put some effort into recruiting, you will be amazed at how quickly you can make progress. But it's never too early to start thinking about it and to start working on it. And, for folks who maybe have questions, or they want to have an individual conversation around that, that's something that, you can always schedule a call and, we'll be happy to kind of talk about your unique situation.
One more, and then I'll let you continue on. My daughter is going to ODP camp in June. Should she be adding this to her profile about that? Will the camp help her out with that? And maybe Chris, you can answer right after Eric.
Yeah, so it's always a good idea to put any major events that you're going to be attending on your CaptainU account. You just click the events tab. Again, that's something that I'll show you as we go through the profile. I believe for a lot of our partnered events, that's actually going to be added for you. So perhaps Mike or Chris, you can speak to that. I think that if you are attending the ODP event, it probably will already be added to your profile for you.
And the answer from the ODP camp's point of view is that we've partnered with Huddle. So we're going to collect video of all the kids and rowing various size boats and check out their technique. The hope is to get you at the beginning of camp and get you at the end of camp and be able to show the progress that you've made for the coaches who are interested in that progress. So yes, we will spend a lot of time helping you with your profile at camp, at any of the camps.
Awesome. Great. Well, I will.
1 second, Eric, there's another question about junior national team stuff. My son's been part of the junior national team program for the past couple of years. I assume college coaches already know about him. Is that a wrong assumption? Well, I'd say that there's a good chance that your athlete has been noticed. But with the amount of turnover in college programs and with the amount of athletes that are out there, with the lapse in rowing in the last year and a half with COVID, I wouldn't assume anything. I would, make sure you're listening to Eric and starting to reconnect and make those connections. And just to, I wouldn't assume anything. I would just make sure that you're following up and going back through some of the old pathways to make sure that they know that you're there and still interested.
Yeah, and oh no, great. I first off, great answer. That's what I would have started with. And to build on top of that, it never hurts to be proactive and to kind of demonstrate to coaches that you're driven, you're motivated, and you want to earn a spot on their team. Even if they already know who you are, kind of waiting for that coach to reach out isn't doing you necessarily any good. Maybe they're aware of, a handful of athletes that might be a good fit. And, the one that's saying, hey, coach, I, wanted to reconnect. I'm so interested in earning a spot on your team. I was hoping we could have a conversation about what that's going to take and what you're going to need from me. Even just reaching out and saying something like that demonstrates to coaches certain traits that they want to see in a student athlete, that you're driven, that you're motivated, that you're mature enough to be having these conversations. And, hey, it might be a little intimidating. It might take a little bit of effort. It might take some thought and some preparation, but it's all going to be good things. It's never going to hurt. So great questions. And yeah, of course, we'll be happy to take more questions as we go, but want to make sure that I can show you all the profile. So let me go ahead and switch back to here. And actually, I'm going to turn my camera off so that you can see the full screen here. And we're going to walk through the key parts of the profile. And I'm going to kind of use the same 3 steps that I talked about in the presentation. And the first one is what makes you a great recruit. Your profile is where you're going to demonstrate that to coaches. You can see, hey, we've got a profile picture up at the top, your GPA. You can add your video in here. This is just like a CaptainU highlight video that I threw up there. This is an example profile. I didn't want to show a specific athlete for like the interest of privacy and all that good stuff. So this is just an example. But you can see here, hey, we can add our videos. You can add, your general information so that coaches can see where you're from, what seat in the boat are you, what's your height, what's your, weight because, obviously that can be important in terms of, what type of program you're joining. You can add your academic info, your GPA, ACT, SAT, your likely majors. This is something that coaches love to see because, maybe there's a school that has a great specialty in a certain type of major. They might search for athletes who are interested in studying that. Hey, any of this stuff that I'm pointing out, I should mention, if it's not relevant to you, don't worry about it. Your profile is not something you're going to build one day and never touch again. It's something that you're going to be updating as you go. And in fact, it's very important to update your profile over time. You might have noticed there's a little CaptainU score over here, and you can see I'm in the yellow right now. That's not very good. Well, that's because this is an example profile that I built about a month ago, and I haven't added anything in a while. And so my score is going down. You actually show up higher in search results on CaptainU, the more information that you've got and the more recently you've updated your profile. So it's very important. I like to tell athletes, as long as you're adding something once a month, you're going to be on the right track. But yeah, we can add your general info, your academic info, the teams that you're a part of. Maybe if you've got a team through your school and you're a part of, a club type of program, you can add any teams that you're a part of. Of course, you can mark whether or not you've committed. You can add photos. You can add captions to those photos. Hey, here's me, with a first place finish at this big event. Or, here's me holding up an award that I received at my, end of year banquet or something. Really use the profile to demonstrate the most important things about you. Rather than thinking like, what do coaches want to see? Think what makes me great and how can I demonstrate that through my profile? That's going to give you a stronger, more compelling profile. Here you can see you can add coach endorsements. Those are kind of like letters of recommendation. Super simple. Request endorsement, put in the name and email address of your coach, click send request. We'll send them kind of a short survey about you. Athlete endorsements, very similar, but maybe from a peer on your team. Maybe the captain of your team or an older athlete who's already been recruited, who you think might have a little bit of good insight about you. Of course, you can add some of your kind of general statistics here. You can add transcripts. So I always get the question, do I have to add every class I've ever taken here? No. Coaches will generally be looking at your GPA to see your overall. If they need to see your full transcripts, they'll ask for it. But it's a good idea to highlight any specific classes that are maybe in an area of interest that you might want to study in college, or really tough classes like AP or International Baccalaureate classes that you really want coaches to know about. You can showcase that on your profile. We've got social media links here on the right side. So, if you've got a YouTube channel where you're uploading your training footage, or, you've got a Twitter account that you like to use for your sport, you can add other links here. We've got an accomplishments and awards section on the right, and about me, where you can kind of put a personal statement, a little bit about you. Coaches are recruiting you as a student athlete, a complete person. You're not a stat. You're not a video. You're a person. And so really let your personality shine through on your profile. I find the more kind of time and thought and effort you've put into your profile, the more engaging it's going to be for coaches. Here's a status update section. That's where you can write, any kind of periodic updates. Maybe you're, working towards a certain time or a certain goal. You can put updates over time. And like I said, as long as you're updating, I think once a month, in the beginning, add as much as you can. Try and crank your profile score nice and high. I like to say 1500 is a pretty good place to start. So, maybe if I add one more picture to this profile, it'll be right where I want to be. And then as long as you're updating once a month, you're going to be on the right track. So moving on to, we talked about, hey, what makes you a great recruit? That's going to be captured on the profile. The second piece, what types of schools are you interested in? This is where you can use the colleges tab of your account. You can see here that I have added a number of schools. And of course, my example account that I made a couple weeks ago has now run out of access. So let me get this upgraded real quick. Just 1 second. Let me pop out real quick and get this upgraded so that I can show you all the really cool features we've got. 1 second, I gotta grab a promo code. I apologize, I should have checked this out beforehand. Now, if anybody has questions or things like that, now might be a good time to pop those into the chat. It's just gonna take me like 30 more seconds and I will have this in here.
we do have a couple questions here we can pop off. Let's see here. Should we let off?
I actually already have this.
You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. And we'll of course get to the questions at the end. But okay, there we go. Now I can switch back my camera here to the, okay, there we go. Hey, that's me. Anyway, so hey, if I want to search for colleges, I can come in here and of course I can type a school by name if I already know a specific school I'm interested in. But, maybe hey, I'm searching for D1 schools and, hey, maybe I'm looking from, the far West. Okay, great. I can, run a search and find some schools that fit exactly what I'm looking for. And okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and throw UCLA on the list. And, great. I've got some of the basic info on the program here. I can click and, go check out the school's website, go look at all the, blog posts or information that they've posted. I can see, some different academic info here. What kind of SAT score range are you going to be looking for to try and get into this school? What types of majors does the school have? What's the acceptance rate? 19%. Yeesh, that's tough. Those UC schools are tough. I can get the athletic information. I can see who the coach is, the conference. I can get some of the financial information about the school. What's the average, financial aid, what, scholarship, what's the average athletic scholarship. You can get all of this great information right here on CaptainU. And, hey, we've got a to-do list that shows, it's loading. Again, I think it's some pretty heavy lifting on my computer to have both of these open. But you can see like, okay, here's next steps. What should I work on if I'm interested in the school? And okay, the first step is I should learn about the school. And you can go click and start reading about the school. Once I've done that, okay, what's next? All right, it's time to send an intro email. Let's not jump ahead. We're going to get to messaging here in a moment. Of course, that's the final step. But as you can see here, hey, maybe I want to take notes. When was the last time I had a phone conversation with this coach? Or, what are some questions I have next time I do have a conversation with this coach? Everything about your prospects list you can manage here on CaptainU. You can add different sections. Hey, here's my top schools. Here's my medium schools. Here's my, safety schools. These are D1 schools. These are D3 schools. You can really manage your prospects list super easily with everything right at your fingertips here on CaptainU. So that's the second step that we talked about. Now, the third step that we talked about, and that's where we're going to use the mail tab of our account. And, super easy. Again, click new message. I'm going to choose a school from my list. Let's use UCLA because we were just talking about that. I can come in here and choose a template. We've got a handful of templates that you can use for all different situations. Cover letter, I think, is a really good first message that you might be sending to a coach. And it's a really important note that these aren't like ad lib fill in the blank templates. That's not going to be super helpful. Again, we said you got to be engaging, you got to be personal. And so, these give you suggestions on what exactly you might want to write to the coach in this situation. So maybe before a big event or, after a camp, all sorts of options to help you out. The coach's contact info is already in there. And, it's super easy to just get in there and focus on your messages rather than focusing on chasing down the coach's contact information or whatever. So those were the three things that we hit on in the presentation. I do want to quickly show a couple other important parts of the profile, especially, we had a question about events. This is where you can browse upcoming events. This is, again, an example profile, so it's not quite hooked up the same way, but you can either add an event that's already in the system or, I can create a new event. Hey, I'm going to, this event. It's a tournament or it's a camp or, I can add in the city, the state, the date, and I can actually add any competition, camp, anything that you're going to be attending. You can go ahead and list here. And then that's going to be available for coaches. They could say, hey, show me people who are attending this or attending that. So it's a really great way to kind of show coaches where you are, and opportunities they might have to watch you. And then lastly, I do want to call out the activity tab. This is where you can see what coaches have taken activity on your profile. So, if a coach viewed your profile, or a coach found you in a search, or a coach added you to their prospects list, anytime a coach takes any activity where your CaptainU recruiting profile is showing up or being interacted with, you're going to be able to see it right here on the activity tab. So, maybe Orange Coast College is a school I might be interested in. Great. Let's go check them out. I can, check out the school, see a little bit about them. If I'm interested, I can add them to my list. And then I'm going to be able to send them messages. Hey, coach, I saw you came across my CaptainU profile. I'm really interested in learning more about your program. Do you have time to set up a call? And there you go. You went from, maybe never even having heard of this or considered the school before to jumping right into a conversation. So it's really nice to be able to kind of see what actions coaches are taking. Once you start getting a bunch of activity, you can filter it by, only coaches that actually looked at your profile or coaches that found you in searches. You can really kind of drill down and see all of that, really, really drilled down. Okay, so wow, I didn't realize how long I was speaking. I can see that we're actually almost to the end of time, but that was everything I wanted to show you on the actual profile. I hope that I did a good job of kind of applying what we talked about in the slides to actually seeing what that looks like in CaptainU. And at this time, I'll go ahead and switch back to my face camera. And if we have more questions or things we want to go over, I'm happy to field some of those here.
All right, Eric, let's do some of these real quick. Do you have information on your website about college rowing programs? I think we've talked about that. How can you help me pick the right program? I think you've talked about that. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is you got to get out there and explore for yourself. Nobody can tell you what's going to be the best fit for you other than you. It's so important to think about what's going to make a school a good fit for you. Are there certain things that you're looking for academically, athletically, regionally? If you haven't spent some time to think about that, I would suggest you do so, because I can list off programs all day and all night, but I don't know you like you know you. And it's important to actually put in the time to think about that. And, of course, the colleges tab is there to help you do that, to run some searches and give you some ideas. You'll actually periodically receive emails from CaptainU giving you ideas. But at the end of the day, no one is going to be able to tell you what school's a better fit for you other than you. And it takes putting in the time and effort to think about it.
All right. Is there a way to view what the coaches see when they click on your profile?
Yeah, so there actually is a coach view option. You'll see a button on the right side of the profile. And let me switch back to my, again, this is an example account, so it's not quite fully filled in, but you can see here, this is basically what it looks like from the coach side of things. They have a little bit faster navigation where they can go, all right, I want to look at the pictures, I'm going to go scroll through. So, it really is the same information that you're seeing, but, on the normal profile, it's a little bit easier to edit. And whereas the coach view is a little bit faster and easier for coaches to navigate.
I just clicked one off by mistake. The question was, how important are ERG scores compared to progress and academics and so on? I'm not sure how adept you are in the rowing world, Eric. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I think you can probably answer that one a lot better than I can.
One of the aspects of that question is that you have your physical stats as an athlete, but you also have your ERG scores, and those are relative to the people that you're competing with for the same slots in the college. So they are fairly significant. The coaches are going to take that into consideration, and there are only so many data points they can compare you person to person against another athlete. And ERG scores will be one of those. So they are fairly significant, just like an SAT score would be. And you're also going to have your athletic, your height and weight and strength to weight ratio and all of those things that go with it. Is lightweight recruiting harder than normal recruiting? Leonardo, the answer to this question is it's different because most of the lightweight recruiting happens at Ivy League colleges. And so there's a whole different set of criteria. You as a student, can you get in there? You as a student, will you be able to handle the load of of classes and the work at an Ivy League? Whereas if you were, and as a male, there aren't many colleges that give scholarships anyways. So if you're looking at, depends on where you're looking, right? If you're looking at Ivy, great. If you're looking at the handful of schools that have lightweight men's rowing, it's a different set of circumstances. If you're looking at D2 or D3, then you're looking at different circumstances there as well. So it's not an apples to apples question. My son is a high school sophomore. How soon should he get started in reaching out to college rowing programs?
Yeah, like I said, there's no better time than now. Anything you do before about September of your junior year puts you ahead of the curve. I would say that's when most people, you hear, junior year, that's when coaches can start having recruiting conversations. And so I think a lot of people, their brain goes, okay, I'll start that then. You want these coaches to know who you are before that date hits so that you can hit the ground running. So, you don't need to bend over backward. You don't need to, be sending hundreds of messages. But if you can get a couple good introductions to a coach before then, as a sophomore, that coach is going to know who you are and be ready to have real recruiting conversations as soon as you do get to your junior year.
Well, let's follow up on that, Eric. The introductory contacts with the coach, what should be included in the first introductory email to a college coach?
Yeah, so two things. One, check out the cover letter template that I demonstrated when we're looking through the profile. And second, those three things that I talked about in the presentation. One, who are you and why should the coach care? Two, why are you interested in their program? And three, have a call to action. If you hit those 3 points and literally nothing else, your message is going to be way better than 80-90% of the introductions I see.
I'm not sure if you answered this. Are you going to be at Youth Nationals, the Rowing National Championships in June?
I don't think I am. Mike, are you or anybody else from the team going to be there?
As of right now, no, but things can change.
Well, we might want to talk about that tomorrow, fellas. One of the questions, the reason why I asked Eric his question was, we've signed up for the, they were wondering if you guys are going to be around to be one-on-one. What does recruiting look like for Division III schools, Eric?
Yeah, so I would say in general, it's going to be very similar in terms of the actual steps that you should be taking. The biggest differences are, one, there's actually going to be, I think it's a lot of times a little bit less stressful because there's not quite as much competition. Every athlete in the country is reaching out to the top programs. When I get on a call and I say, what schools are you interested in? Invariably, everybody wants to go to those top tier programs. And so you got to fight for those coaches' attention. Whereas sometimes at these smaller programs, programs that are maybe a little bit less competitive, you really have a little more space to breathe and to actually connect with coaches. I find in general, the coaches are going to be responding usually more often and more quickly, although sometimes they have a little bit less staff. So it kind of balances out a little bit. But in terms of the key strategies, the key ways to approach it, it's generally going to be the exact same. It's just going to be maybe a little less pressure. Often I would say the recruiting process is a little bit longer. You're not going to be trying to make a commitment as quickly as possible. Those coaches are going to be happy to kind of watch you progress over time. And, it's just going to be a little bit less intense.
All right, let's see here. David, will this recording be available to view? This recording will be available on the US Rowing website. I'll get all of you the link to it. I'll give everybody a link. And I'll give the CaptainU guys a link too, if you guys want to put this up on yours. Let's see here. Is a non-sub 7 2K too slow to build a recruiting profile around? And I think, Eric, I think one of the messages you've sent is it's never too soon, and it is a process. So regardless of where the starting point is, your score, you're going to be improving. And I would imagine there's a sort of an art form and a skill to creating a profile, and there'll be some trial and error. And so it's always good to start and keep going. Would that be fair?
Yep. When your score gets better, you update your score. That's as simple as that. Start building it out, because if you wait until everything's perfect, you're going to feel like you have to rush and throw everything together. And, if your profile is already looking great and, maybe you're not confident enough to reach out to a specific school until your score gets to a certain point, no problem. Build everything else out, have it ready to go. And then as soon as you update that score, great, I can hit the ground running rather than having to build my profile from scratch.
And you might have coaches that say, if that kid had a better score, I'd look at him. Everything else is great, and so then the score changes and you're like, okay, that's what I was waiting for.
Exactly.
Because then the coach knows all the stuff about you, right?
Yeah.
Just waiting for you to make that step and improve the score.
Yeah. One more quick note on that one.
Sure.
When a coach runs a search, if they have a term that is very important to them, let's say they're looking for a specific ERG score. If you don't match that, you're just simply not going to show up in the search. And so it's not like this coach is going to look negatively on you. Whereas you never know, maybe the coach says, hey, I'm willing to have a little bit of wiggle room here. And so, you do show up in the search. Well, if you didn't put your score in, you never will show up in any of those searches. So it's always to your advantage to add whatever you've got, because it's just giving you more opportunities for, a coach to get their eyes on you. Whereas if you don't have anything in there, you're not going to show up.
Do coaches prefer a call rather than an email?
It's going to be a case-by-case basis, but if you just cold call coaches, you'll almost never get a response. You'll almost never get a coach just randomly calling out of nowhere. Even if a coach does prefer a phone call, in general, you're going to start with messages or email and then move to a phone. And, even if you do want to cold call a school, I generally like to give them a heads up first. Hey, coach, this is who I am. Here's a little bit about me. I'm going to be giving you a call at 5 o'clock on Thursday. I wanted to send you my info so that if we do get you on the phone, you'll have something to look at.
I have good times and SAT scores, both of which are continuing to improve. But some of my class grades are subpar. As a sophomore, how much effect does that have on my likeliness of being recruited?
Yeah, of course, it's going to depend school to school. If your goal is to go to an Ivy League program, you better be working on getting those grades up, right? It's going to be really, those schools, sometimes if you're, you have to be, among the top students in your school. Whereas if you're going to a school that's maybe a little less academically competitive, it's going to be less important. So that's going to be 100% dependent on the schools. I can say this though, it never hurts to be a great student. It's always going to help no matter what program you're speaking with. And if you struggle in the classroom, that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not going to get recruited. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. But it is, important. You are getting recruited as a student athlete, not just as an athlete. And so, hey, if you didn't do super well in your freshman year, that's okay. You've got plenty of time to put in the work there. But, coaches love a diligent student because it shows that they know how to be diligent, and they're going to be a diligent worker as an athlete as well.
All right, 3 to go. Athletic skills were emphasized in the beginning. How would this apply to rowing? Can you give examples? You want me to?
Yeah, sure.
One of the things that we're seeing in rowing is that overuse injuries. We're seeing people that have been rowing for a really long time. So they started in 7th grade. I know that a lot of the coaches that I know would like, more well-rounded athletes. And I think you're starting to see in other sports, what was it? The coach at Ohio State was saying many of his athletes, his football players, were 3-sport athletes growing up. And we're starting to look more at long-term athletes and their development. And so athletic skills, I think if you can show that you're an athlete, not just somebody who can hammer away at the rowing machine, if you're an athlete, I think that there's something to be said for that. The other thing is if you have only rowed for 6 or 7 years going into college, that coach is thinking burnout. That coach is thinking overuse injury. And so it does make sense for you to become more well-rounded as an athlete and to train in that manner. So that's just something to be thinking about. Eric, I don't know if you wanted to add on to that.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add, I think often folks ask like, what do coaches want to see or what do they value in an athlete? And to me, that's backward. Don't try and shoehorn what you think, what you are into what you think coaches want to hear. If I was on a one-on-one call with an athlete and they asked me that, I would say, tell me what makes you great at the sport. Like, what are those key skills that you have? What, are you the hardest worker? Are you, the fastest, whatever it is, what makes you great? Focus on that. Don't try and guess what a coach wants to hear.
What is a good recruiting time for men? Not a simple question. Are you lightweight? Are you an open weight? Are you looking at D3? Are you looking at Ivy? You're looking at the handful of schools. Are you looking for a scholarship? I think there's a lot of how big are you? What, how tall are you? How long are you? These are things that are all, they're all relative, right? To the answers to those other questions. So, if you're in the 630s or 620s and you're a lightweight, you're getting closer and closer to being really coveted. If you can go 620 and you're looking for a scholarship, you're looking to go 620, 610. Those are things that are going to start getting people to really notice you. Let's see here. Do you have data to show that the top coaches actually use CaptainU? Well, I can start off by this. We're not giving, so over 1,400 people signed up for our camps this summer at some level. And the only people that are getting the list of all those people that signed up for camp is CaptainU. So if any college coach in America wants to see it, they'll have to go to CaptainU to get it. So, and all the top coaches that I know want to know where all the kids are. And I'll tell you something else about this question. Coming out of COVID, those coaches haven't really had a chance to see you row. So all they know is what you are in paper for the most part. So the list of athletes, which is 1,428 kids right now, give or take, it's been a year and a half since we've had much racing. So they're still trying to figure out where all the pockets of rowing are now. And those of you that were 9th graders at the beginning of COVID, you might be 11th graders now, they might not know about you. They might not know you exist. So I think that you will find that the colleges are going to be going to CaptainU because that's where the most thorough list of athletes resides right now.
Yeah, and to build on top of that, first off, we are the largest youth sports recruiting platform in the country. We had about 10,000 athletes make college teams last year. Coaches that want to access athlete information, they can do it through CaptainU, whether that's directly, whether that's as a plugin for other recruiting tools that coaches use, coach-only tools. And frankly, as an athlete, you have access to every coach in the country. If you send a message out of CaptainU, through CaptainU, that coach doesn't have to log in, that coach doesn't have to sign up. It's not, overwhelmingly branded. We have removed all of the obstacles a coach might have to jump through to access your information. Obviously the effectiveness of the tool is the most important thing. CaptainU has been at this for a long time. I myself have been here for 8 years. I've had thousands of athletes make college teams. And, it is a set of tools though. CaptainU, I think it is important to denote we're not a service. We're not an agent reaching out on your behalf. It's not like a coach says, hey, I'm going to pay you X amount to fill our spot. We are a platform. And the more that you engage with that platform, the more you use the tools, the more you're going to get out of it.
What's a good woman's lightweight 2K for the end of high school? It's a tough question too. I've known several that have been close to 7 or 705. I mean, we had 2019, we had one of the girls on the team that was 705. She was a lightweight. I mean, you're talking 720s would be a really great score for a woman's lightweight 2K. If you get in the 17s and you're so lightweight, you know, that's phenomenal. That's rare. You get under that, you're a once in a generation athlete. But 730s is really solid. 720s is probably something that people are going to really take notice and have a peek. So let's see here. For heavyweight men, what would it take to get an athletic scholarship? It's not just a simple question. You're talking, do they give full rides or do they split up their scholarships into partials? You're talking about what team are you speaking of and where are they at? Are they senior heavy and have a lot opening up? Have they spread them out across a couple of classes? What's opening up? What are their needs? You know, I don't think there is an exact answer to this question right here in terms of getting a full scholarship. Are these full scholarships you're asking? This is an anonymous question. Like I said, it varies on the program. There aren't many programs that give scholarships in the first place to men. And so, you know, if you can break 6'10", you know, you might have a really good shot at something like that. But the higher up you go, 6'20", 6'30", and so on, you know, the further away you're going to get from a partial or especially a full. Is height important for recruiting? Well, rowing's a sport based on length and power, right? So the taller, longer you are, the more wingspan, the length of your legs, all that is going to increase the leverage that you can apply. And so height is important. Is it the end all be all? Not necessarily, but does it help? Sure. You can't teach height. You can give a training program. You can teach a lot of things. You can't teach somebody to be taller and longer. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Well, now they're coming in. Is 6'1" too small for men's heavyweight? No, I don't think it is too small. I think you'll find more than you would imagine spread throughout Division I teams. At the same time, there's no promise that you're going to make the 1V. You could have an incredible engine and just be shorter. So is it too small? No. Does it make it easier? Doesn't make it easier, though. What do you know about the Coast Guard Academy rowing team? If I become a recruitable rower for top colleges, it would be worth it to go there. That, my friend, is a personal choice. You need to learn, you need to go out on your own and find out the things about the Coast Guard Academy that would make it a place that you wanted to attend. So I don't think Eric or I should try to talk you into the Coast Guard Academy. I think you should do your research and your due diligence. If you're close enough to go there, you should go there and say, in the dead of winter, could I be standing here and be happy? Little things like, where's my freshman dorm and where's the mess hall? I have to walk to that place in January. Am I going to do that? Like all the little intangibles, what would make it worth it for you to consider it? And then what would make you worth it for them to consider you? I think those are things that you're going to have to figure out on your own. Is 6'3" too tall for lightweight? I think this might be a setup question. If you're 6'3" and still lightweight, you should talk to a doctor. Any questions about whether or not you should be a lightweight, you should go to a doctor and ask them, is your body suitable for the stresses of being a lightweight? And let a doctor, somebody who went to college, got many degrees, let them answer that question for you. I don't know your metabolism. I don't know what I don't know your build, and I don't know if you are naturally a lightweight and under the number, or you are striving to stay a lightweight. And there's a huge difference in those and the answers to that question. So see a doctor, see somebody who does this for a living. What if your times aren't really improving at the moment, but you're going to a lot of big regattas and camps and doing really well? Well, I mean, look, word of mouth is great. Coaches can see you and be impressed. Depending on the camps that you're going to, if you're going to high performance and you're going to ODP, well, I can tell you right now in Jacksonville, we have 18 Olympians and probably 26 to 30 college coaches that'll be there from Harvard, Yale, Penn, Dartmouth, you name it, they'll be there. If you're looking to be seen, then you've got to be where the coaches are. If you're looking to be a person on a sheet of paper or a video, well, then you roll the dice if the coach actually sees that. So, and just so you know, if you're struggling with your times not improving, I think most athletes plateau for a bit. It also is a chance for you to reflect upon your, maybe you're a junior in high school and you're taking crazy courses and you're not getting any rest. Maybe you're not eating well. Maybe you're not hydrated. There's a lot of things going on that you could look at, because performance isn't just on your effort, and performance can be based on what you're eating, what you're drinking, how much rest you're getting, are you getting enough? And it could be your training program. I'm not trying to second guess your coach, but I am saying it might be a time to reflect and say, okay, what works in my training program? What doesn't work? Have you been injured recently? Are you coming off injury too much too soon? All of the above. We just came out of pandemic and we haven't been able to do the same things we normally were. So you might have been in a good rhythm and just finding it hard to get back into the rhythm. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I think these are all natural things. Oh boy, now we're getting specific, huh? What is a good 2K score for a 5'5", 127? It's hard to say. Every athlete's different. I don't think there's a built-in number. If you give me your height and weight, that I can give you back an ERB score. I don't think it works like that. And I'd be afraid to say the wrong thing and then make you upset, and it might not be even, a great answer. I keep hearing that lightweights may be going away. Have you heard anything about this? These are decisions that are being made for the future. There have no definitive answer been made yet, and there will be a lot of factors that go into that question and what the answer will be. What is the lightweight cutoff for men? I'm 6 foot and 158 pounds. I don't know whether or not to keep trying to gain weight. You're anonymous, so I don't know what year you're in. I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you're naturally lightweight or if you're, so 158, you could still be a lightweight in college. If you're a ninth grader and you're 158 pounds and 6 foot already, my personal opinion as a coach would be to tell you not to try to hold your body back. It wants to grow, and you're about to hit probably another growth spurt because you're only in ninth grade now. So if you're already 5 or 8 pounds over 150 pounds, which is high school lightweight, you are not naturally a lightweight anymore. So, so again, the answer to your question is relative to what year you are in, where you are on the growth chart, what your doctor says. You should be talking to a doctor as well. Would colleges see potential in a 6'2", 185-pound freshman with a 650? I think colleges will see potential in everybody. It's up to you whether you realize your potential. You're 6'2" already as a freshman. Heck yeah, they're going to look at you as somebody who's going to hit another spurt. But what you do between now and your senior year is up to you. If you stay healthy, what you do, how motivated are you to make your times work? How efficient is your body? What kind of shape are you in? What is your fitness like? So those are all things that, again, are in your hands, not just up to the college looking for you. But yeah, 6'2" as a freshman, it's not a bad start. You're well ahead of the game. If we are participating in regional part of ODP camp, then will we still be seen by various? Yes, all of you will be on the same campus, rotating through the same boats. The idea of keeping you within your region is to create the camaraderie within your region, but also to give us a COVID bubble. So you are with 24 people from your region, 23 other people from your region. The goal is to keep you safe. And when we started building this camp, the ODP camp, which you're referencing, it was August. And in last August, the country was in pretty bad shape. So we're just trying to make sure that we can ensure your parents will keep you safe, especially from COVID. So keeping little bubbles within a bigger bubble within a bigger bubble, that was the goal. But yes, many of these coaches will be rotating through and other regions camps. So they're not just going to be stuck into one. Will Olympic Development Camp help exposure to college coaches? Right. As I said, there's 25 to 30 colleges there, from Ivy Leagues to Division I colleges to Division III colleges. Some of the best college coaches out there will be present, and there'll be almost 30 of them. So yes, the answer is definitely yes for that exposure question. I'm going to guess that you are saying 16 years old. You're part of the previous question about being 158, I'm guessing. Again, it's hard to say. I honestly think any question about your body and your growth pattern is better answered by your doctor. Your pediatrician has probably seen you since birth, has all of your charts, knows where you are at, knows what it, it's all numbers, right? It's percentages. You are in percentiles. They will be able to tell you what you might have left. They measure your growth plates, tell you might see another inch, you might see another 2 inches. You're going to have to let your doctor answer those questions. I'm just a rowing coach, and I don't think Eric has a doctor's degree either.
Way above my pay grade.
Way above. And what is the best way to get recruited as a coxswain? Zane, the best way is to constantly record yourself, to find a way to be comfortable in your own skin, in your case as a coxswain, in your own voice. A lot of coxswains don't like to listen to their own tapes. You need to. And if it sounds crappy to you, then identify why you think that and correct it. You can go on YouTube and find hundreds of coxswain tapes. You can send your tapes to, we've got some great people in the country, Mary Whipple, Laura Simon. There's just several people that do this for a living that are coxswain coaches. You're coming to camp, obviously you're on this call and I recognize your name. I'm going to have a whole coxswains class for you, and you're going to get a lot of this. So everything from how to speak, how fast to speak, the inflection that you use, the words that you choose. Another way to become a great coxswain, Zane, is to become a student of the sport. Learn about technique, learn about your athletes, learn about nutrition, learn about all the things that help you make your athletes better. And then the boats you're in will go faster. And the best way to be noticed is to be the first bow ball to cross the finish line. Then people will start to notice and say, why did that boat cross first? And why does it keep winning? Something special is in that boat. Can you be recruited for open weight as a lightweight? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. If you can look, it's simple rule in rowing. If the boat is faster with you in it, people are going to look at you and want to know why. So yes, you can. How important are the 500-meter erg times? I've seen them on the front pages of many athlete profiles in the past. Do they mean something important to the coaches? If you're asking my opinion, the race is 2,000 meters in college. I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's like, going to a gym and seeing those guys that only work on their biceps. They're the first thing everybody notices, and their beach muscles. But I'm not so sure that the college coaches are prioritizing your 500-meter erg times. Yes, they do show an enormous amount of power, but your 2K, so that's only 1/4 of the race. So I think college coaches are a little more savvy than just focusing on that. Do recruiters look at power line? I don't even know what power line is. Never heard of it. Eric? Aiden, do you have you want to rephrase that for us, Aiden? Maybe? What would be a good 2K time for 6'3" junior, 198 pounds? Well, I mean, anything under 6'20", 6'10", and you're going to get phone calls. Is 5'4" too short for a woman's lightweight rower? Absolutely not. It is not too short. Not, what is the old saying, Eric? It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog, right? So, so no, yeah, 5'4" is not too short. And I've had plenty of my athletes from Saratoga go on to college. More than 200 have gone on to college in Division I programs. And 5'4" has not inhibited them. So besides scores and grades, how else can I impress a college coach? Well, I mean, Eric, I think this is you, but I think character, consistency, striving to be better. I think these are all, aside from scores, I think these are all things that you can really portray yourself to the coach as a person that would be invaluable to a team, right?
Yeah, I mean, be proactive, be personal, be confident in what, the confident and straightforward and consistent, all the things we talked about today is all about, conveying to this coach that you're the type of person that they want on their program.
I would say one of the things we always told the athletes here is be honest. Be honest for two reasons. Number one, you want them to see who you are, and you want them to want you for who you are, not somebody you're pretending to be. But equally as important to the program you're coming from, if you lie and you do something that causes that coach to think of you negatively or a liar, you are also burning the bridge for all the people back home at your program that might want to go to that college later on. So, you know, unbeknownst to you, you will, you are a reflection of your program. And if you burn the coach, that coach is going to think negatively about your program that you came from too. Just human nature. They'll try not to, but you know, it comes with it. Maybe it's just my team who calls it that, but you hook it up to the rigor of the boat. Oh, okay. So you're just talking about printouts of your watts and power curves and stuff like that. Hey, I think that's great stuff. A lot of people don't have access to that. I mean, the vast majority of people don't have access to that, especially if you're talking to Peach systems or some of the stuff that are in the boats. If you have that, that's good. I would tell you this: learn about it yourself so you know what those power curves mean. Make sure that you understand what the watts mean. Make sure that those watts, you can convert them. You know, what is your power to weight ratio? You might have enormous watts, but be 310 pounds, and all of a sudden the ratio isn't such a great thing. But if you learn those curves, the important thing for you is that you can look at those curves and decide where you need to improve as well, because that's the first thing the coach is going to notice, where you're deficient in those curves. You know, you might be thinking they're showing off something great, and the coach is looking at that thinking, oh my goodness, you have so much to improve. So make sure that you understand what you're sending rather than just throwing out power curves and whatnot. What is a good 2K for a 6-foot girl that is 16 years old? Well, first of all, you're 16 years old and 6 foot. You just jumped to the front of the line in a lot of places. 153, again, you know, the health and efficiency of your fitness and your body. What is a good 2K time? I mean, you're only 16. You know, don't sell your soul just to erg and get a score. Make sure that you create a healthy body. Ariel, you're already ahead of the game because you're 6 foot. You don't need to cut corners. You need to be as well-rounded and healthy as possible because you have something that you can't teach, and that's height. And that means you have leverage. And every coach in America will know that. And at 153, they're probably at 6 foot, they're probably just going to want you to make sure that you are strong and your shoulder, you know, like everything about you can support that frame, right? So I would say, you know, what is a good 2K? You know, the coaches will tell you what they're looking for. You're going to camp as well. You're going to be able to ask around the other people at camp. You're going to get to see a wide range of scores, and but you're in a good place. So I would hope that you don't rush yourself just to get that good score and then hurt your lower back or something overdoing it. At what point in senior year do athletes usually make commitments? Eric?
You know, it's not a usually thing. You know, every athlete's recruiting process is different. You know, anywhere from the summer before, you might make a verbal commitment to, you know, there's of course a couple official signing periods to, I mean, I was a D1 athlete. I didn't commit until it was about May of my senior year. I was like well already into the school. So it's going to be different in every situation. And I think it's much more important to think about where you are and the conversations you are with coaches than to try and worry about sticking to some, you know, imaginary timeline.
Let's see here. So, Ariel, I was going to read this to you. Your PR right now, she just put it in the thing for me, is quite impressive for a 16-year-old. You're going to be just fine. You don't need to rush into anything, so you're going to be fine. So guys, that's all the questions we have for now. You know, I just want you all to know, thank you for spending the time with us, with Eric and I and Mike tonight. These guys are a resource for you. They are partners with US Rowing, and your profile begins free because you're already part of the camp. We're going to help you stuff those folders with great video of you. We're going to help put in stuff that is only going to enhance marketing you and getting you the best opportunity that you can create. You're still going to have to do a lot of the work. You know, questions recently were about 2Ks. Your coaches can't pull the 2Ks, and Eric and Mike can't go to the colleges and get you everything. There's an amount of investment that you have to make in these athlete profiles, and to some of the people that said, hey, should I do this too soon? You should start now, and you should start doing trial and error and figuring out what is the best stuff you can put in there. And these guys are experts. Ask them, that's what they're here for. Ask them the things that are working for you, the things that aren't working for you. What can you do better? What would help? And I believe that you'll find that they're willing to do that.
One last thing I wanted to put in here. I'm about to put something in the chat. It's going to be a 10% off code for everyone here. So when you go to your profile and you choose to upgrade, using this code will get you 10% off whatever plan you choose. So I'm going to put it in here. Make sure you copy it and save it for when you do upgrade, whether it's today, next week, or 2 weeks from now.
And while you guys are looking at that, this is a really good question. For rowers from the Pacific Northwest, do you have any recommendations for pre-ODP camp preparation for the heat and humidity that we'll be encountering at ODP camp? Well, one, brother, or whoever that is, until you've felt it, it's going to be hard to explain. And but number two, our U.S. national team dietitian and wellness director, Liz Fusco, is going to be doing a webinar for you guys in about 2 weeks on heat acclimatization. And she's going to talk about how you need to prepare and also the things that you need to do while you're there to get ready, to be part of that kind of humidity. And so we're going to talk about diet. We're going to talk about hydration. We're going to talk about heat acclimatization, and we're going to talk about recovery. So whether it be rolling out the proper way or icing or anything, we're going to talk about those things. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a really important webinar to be part of. And we've got to get her soon because she's off to the Olympics to help our Olympians do the same thing in Tokyo. When we went to Tokyo in 2019 for Junior Worlds, you walked out that door and the real field was 117 degrees. It felt like somebody was standing there with a hot, wet towel. And as you walked out, they threw it over your head and instantly you felt suffocated. So I don't think Jacksonville will be like that, but you're going to want to listen to Liz Fusco to give you the answer to the question you just asked. So be ready for that. We'll give you 1 more minute to cut and paste this in the chat. In that time, I want to thank Eric and Mike for joining us tonight. This is just the first of many. We will be ready for you guys at camp, and we will have folders ready for you to put video in. We will have, there's aspects of camp that we are going to assess you as athletes in, and then talk about your growth as an athlete towards the end. So we are going to have a curriculum, and those files, those coaches will make additions to the curriculum as it pertains to each one of you individually. And those are things that you can show college coaches. And so when you have a D1 coach coaching you in school and they're giving you an assessment and they're at a major D1 college, other coaches are going to say that, and there's probably going to be somebody that they respect, and things like that will go a long way. So it behooves you to really work hard and listen to the coaching that you're getting and improve. Let it help improve you. Let's see what we got here.
Hey, I just copied the link in. I think, Mike, you sent it only to panelists. So okay. So someone mentioned that it hadn't gone through. I just pasted that.
Okay, so everybody, that's in there now. Let's just take another second, a couple seconds for you to get that, cut and paste that.
Thanks, Eric.
But we really do look forward to seeing you at all the camps, ODP, high performance, selection, Canamex, wherever you're going. We look to have build a dynasty here. So thank you all for joining us tonight and taking the time, and we will have this recording up sooner than later.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And for anybody who has any questions, you can always reach me at Eric, ERIC, at CaptainU.com. So don't be shy. I'm here to help you out.